Mateshwara. Next to it are the rock engraved inscriptions describing the story of Adinatha and his sons. Tyagata Brahmadev column. Pillars carrying figures of dancing yakshis and animals. Gate of the main courtyard. Siddhara Basidi with inscriptions on memorial columns. Statue of Gulekai Ajji or Padmavati Yakshi. Column with Brahma Yaksha on top. Dwara Mandapa. With Dwarapalas flanking the doorway to the inner courtyard. The corridors of the inner courtyard are called Chauvis Tirthankara Basidi and contain statues of various Tirthankaras. On top of the courtyard are a number of statues including that of Kushmandani Devi, Padmavati Devi, Dharanendra, Saraswati Devi, Lakshmi Devi. The inner courtyard contains the world-famous monolithic statue of Bahubali flanked by the statues of Yaksha and Yakshi. It is believed that Bahubali, who was the son of the first Jain Tirthankara Adinatha, refused to accept the suzerainty of his elder brother Bharat. He fought and won a duel with Bharat. Though triumphed, Bahubali immersed in deep remorse and renounced the world. He meditated in standing posture for a long time and became Arihant, one who has conquered all inner passions. This 58 feet high statue was built by Chamundaraya.
Hello and good evening. The nation is making progress in its battle against coronavirus pandemic. The recovery rate has gone up further today to 23.3%. And we'll be talking about that in Newsnight tonight, along with the big question of the way forward in this fight. I'm Gautam Roy. We'll also be talking about plasma therapy for treating COVID-19 with experts, which right now is going through clinical trials in the country at a national level. But first, our headlines. The central government says plasma therapy for COVID-19 is subject to a national level trial under the ICMR at this stage. Its unauthorized use could be harmful apart from being illegal. Active coronavirus cases stand at 22,010 nationwide, 937 people dead and 7,026 patients recovered so far. The government says the lockdown is proving to be effective. Health Ministry says before lockdown, the doubling rate was 3 days, which is now increased to more than 10 days. Recovery rate has also improved further. Union Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan says no fresh COVID case in 80 districts for over the last 7 days. The minister also reviews status of COVID surveillance in Delhi through video conferencing. The health minister says we will be able to produce RT-PCR and antibody test kits in India by May. In a video conference with biotech companies, declares it will help India meet the target of 1 lakh tests per day by the 31st of May. Prime Minister Narendra Modi discusses COVID-19 pandemic with Indonesian President Joko Widodo, says close cooperation between the two nations will be important in dealing with the challenges posed by the crisis. Asian Development Bank approves $1.5 billion loan to fund India's response to the novel coronavirus pandemic. The loan is aimed at boosting India's disease containment and prevention efforts. Speaking at the BRICS Foreign Ministers video conference meeting, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar says India instituted measures to check COVID-19 much before it was declared a public health emergency. Global tally of COVID-19 cases increases to more than 30,62,000 and death toll crosses 2,12,000. US leads the toll with over 56,000 deaths. Well, India is making progress in combating the coronavirus outbreak, while credit for that in part goes to the lockdown which was imposed nationwide on the 25th of last month. On the flip side is the massive efforts made by our doctors, healthcare workers, essential service providers and people in general. The government has constantly been monitoring all activities and making changes in rules and policies to ensure optimal use is made of available resources in services of the nation while observing all precautions. The way forward is also being deliberated, and there is ample reason to keep your chin up. Take a look.
Various union ministers held meetings on Tuesday to review functioning in their respective ministries. The Health Minister, Dr. Harshvardhan, reviewed the current status of COVID surveillance in Delhi with Lieutenant Governor Delhi, Delhi Health Minister, MCD Commissioners, DMs and DCPs of all districts of Delhi and central, state and district surveillance officers and heads of government hospitals through video conferencing. Dr. Harshvardhan also held meetings with autonomous institutions and PSUs under the Department of Biotechnology through video conferencing. He briefed about the current situation of COVID-19 in the country. He said that no fresh case was reported in 80 districts since last 7 days. 17 districts have not reported a case for last 28 days. He also highlighted a further decline in the doubling rate. The minister said that for the last 14 days, the doubling rate is 8.7, while for the last 7 days, it is 10.2 days. In last 3 days, it is 10.9 days.
Pre-lockdown, our doubling rate of cases was around 3 days. But when I talk to you today, for the last 14 days, our doubling rate had been 8.7, and for the last 7 days, it had been 10.2. And today, for the last 3 days, when we calculate, it is roughly 10.9.
He added that India will be able to produce RT-PCR and antibody test kits within the country by May. This will help the country to achieve the target of 1 lakh tests per day by May 31st.
सब चीज़ें एडवांस्ड स्टेज में है. बहुत जल्दी ICMR की क्लियरेंस होते ही विद इन ए वीक वो सब चीज़ें प्रोडक्शन स्टेज में चली जाएंगी. जैसा कि हमारा टारगेट है कि 31 मई तक हम 1 लाख टेस्ट देश में करना चाहते हैं हर रोज़. उस टारगेट को अचीव करने में भी ये डेवलपमेंट हमें बहुत मदद करेगी.
Information Technology Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad also had an interaction with the IT ministers of all the states. He said that an app is being prepared to share the best practices of states to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic.
वर्क फ्रॉम होम नॉर्म को और हमको पॉपुलराइज करना है. तो इसके लिए आपको मालूम है रेस्ट्रिक्शंस काफी होते हैं. 1-8 करोड़ रुपए का डिपॉजिट होता है, क्लियरेंसेस होता है. तो उसको हमने कोरोना के आने के बाद रिलैक्स किया था. अभी तक वो 30 अप्रैल तक रिलैक्स था. हमने ये फैसला किया है कि अब ये 31 जुलाई तक रिलैक्स रहेगा.
Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh too reviewed contribution of defence public sector undertaking units and Ordnance Factory Board to fight COVID-19 and their operational plans. Union HRD Minister Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank also held a meeting via video conferencing with state education ministers and discussed issues related to COVID-19 and midday meal program. He said that the complete syllabus of CBSE and NCERT is available on Diksha portal.
CBSE NCERT का पूरा पाठ्यक्रम दीक्षा पोर्टल पर आपको मिल जाएगा। एक राज्य को छोड़कर के देश के सभी राज्यों ने दीक्षा पोर्टल पर अपने को जोड़ा है और वो विद्यादान 1 करके हम लोगों ने इसको शुरू किया था और मुझे इस बात को कहते हुए बहुत खुशी है दीक्षा पोर्टल के माध्यम से हम पूरे देश के छात्रों को दे पा रहे हैं।
Apart from this, other ministries to discuss steps to combat coronavirus pandemic and measures to be taken to contain the virus spread while coming up with ways to ensure the nation can find its way back to making the economy flourish once the challenge is tackled. Newsnight Desk, DD India.
And that brings up our In Focus, the first one of the evening tonight, combating COVID-19 way forward. And to talk about it, we have Dr. Anup Agarwal, Principal Investigator ICMR, with us in our studio, and also Dr. Sachin Chaturvedi, DG RS for Developing Countries. Welcome to you both. First, to you, Dr. Agarwal, at what stage do you think our country is at the moment in terms of, picking the pieces up of economic activity, considering the way this pandemic is progressing in the country at this stage?
I think the lockdown has been very successful in slowing the spread of coronavirus. The R0 has come down significantly. The reduction of the spread of the coronavirus has been very significant. If you look at the curves that were predicted, and if you look at the curve of the epidemic, it's very much flattened. Although there has been a lot of challenges with the economic activities, but going forward, we have to measure both the aspects, the lockdown and spread of coronavirus, and the adverse effects because of the lack of economic activities. And the lockdown may be continued till 3rd May, and then we'll see depending on how the epidemic is progressing.
Very interesting data points were thrown out in the briefing today, which was held by the government, the Health Ministry and the Home Ministry, that if you look at the population, the top 20 countries that have the cases, they add up to the number of people that we have in India, and yet the infection rate there is some 84 times more, and deaths are over 200 times. So that is very encouraging. But at the same time, the cases are still increasing cumulatively in India, aren't they?
Yes. So we have to understand this, that herd immunity will be achieved only after 50% of the population is infected.
Okay.
The lockdown has slowed the spread of the infection. Our health systems are not getting overwhelmed. So those are the good things. The cases have been very mild, and most of the recovery rate has been improving, and the spread is also slowing down. So those have been the positives from that, as you said.
And as we ramp up testing, do you feel that will be more helpful? Because today the Health Minister announced that we will soon have indigenous kits, both the RT-PCR one as well as the antibody one. Both will be there in adequate numbers. About 1 lakh tests will be conducted perhaps per day by the 31st of May. Do you think that will be helpful as well in ensuring that the way forward is a much safer one?
So that will be a game changer. As we have more and more rapid kits, we can do zero surveillance. What that means is we can find out what percentage of the population is affected, and then we can take district wise decisions. Say if a district has high number of prevalence of coronavirus positivity, we can lock that district down. Say if a district has very few cases based on the number of testing, then we can open those districts. And so testing will be a big game changer. RT-PCR along with rapid kits, if we can have both, that'll be so great.
But are we there yet at some sort of a stage where this sort of a staggered removal of lockdown could take place, say for the green zones? Is that something within the realm of feasibility by the 3rd of May?
That is being discussed. We have to take it each day at a time, because this disease spreads very fast, and we have to understand that lockdown opening will be various things. Do you open transport? Do you open railways? Do you open flights? And everything has its own dimension. So all of that has to be thought through. And India has done very good in limiting the spread. We were very active in airport screening from the beginning, and that's why we've done so good. And we have to maintain this, but we also have to respect the fact that the economic activity has taken a downturn, and so we have to open it, but very cautiously.
Right. Now, we've already started some extent of opening up from the 20th, Dr. Chaturvedi. What sort of an experience has that been for the industry so far? What is your assessment, and going forward, to what extent can this be then built upon?
Gautam, if you look at agriculture sector, I think the report today that has come out from the Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers is a very positive increase, and very pragmatic, I think, report from agriculture and rural perspective. But your question about industry, I think in quite a few sectors, 30 to 40% units are coming back to life, and that I think is very encouraging. Quite a few of them are part of the essential services, particularly the pharmaceutical industry, related IT services, and of course the biopharma and biotechnology related industries. So they are coming back. The second sector that I see having this positive comeback is the food processing, and quite a few units are back to life. 35 to 40% of them are there. And third and final is in terms of the IT bagged manufacturing sectors, particularly in some southern states, they have come back, particularly in Tamil Nadu, they are back. So there are these positive indications of industry coming back, but at a very gradual pace.
Yes, even in the case of Maharashtra, I was reading one of the reports where the industry minister there said that almost 14,500 units have applied to start functioning again, and this is within the parameters of the revised guidelines. So these are encouraging signs, considering that Maharashtra is one of the most affected states at the moment.
And after lockdown, I think, Gautam, one of the biggest challenge would be the working capital that is required by the small and medium enterprises, because quite a few of them are in this arrangement of circulating the cash and the turnover that is there in terms of putting it back in the cycle, and that has got disrupted. So they require support. I'm glad that the Reserve Bank of India has come out with enough support measures that are there to kickstart the units, but it is, I think, much more is required. Now industry is demanding that instead of those 3 months, we require for 6 months. So some of those I think arrangements would have to be worked out. Finance Ministry has assured the banking regulatory architecture is now much more congenial in terms of extending the supporting hand to them, and that I think would be helping.
And would labour force also remain a concern, provided, because even if we were to restart in some other sectors, I doubt if 100% workforce will be allowed to return to factories in the first instance.
Absolutely right, Gautam. As Dr. Agarwal was mentioning a while ago, the opening up would be a big challenge. You have to have these trade-offs. So what part of communication is first opened up, which districts? And I think if you look at the health minister's statement this afternoon, he says around 300 districts are the safer ones where we can immediately start. Now, as we have seen in Delhi and Mumbai, a huge migration, reverse migration has happened. And as you rightly said, I mean, even if 30 to 40% people come back, it would be good to begin the things.
Right, right. And Dr. Agarwal, what remains a concern still is, our largest cities, where 15 cities, I guess, are responsible for more than 70% of the active cases at present, where the fact that there are still cases going up in numbers remains a huge concern. The Delhi LG today was talking about micro containment strategies now. Now, what could these micro containment strategies be, and how would they help?
So talking about cities, we have to understand that our cities are very overcrowded, and it will be very difficult to contain the virus within the cities without a lockdown strategy. So a micro containment strategy sounds perfect if we want to open up slowly, but also contain the virus. I think what a micro containment strategy will be, that if there is a case in a certain population, then within a certain amount of radius, everything is locked down, and then nothing is allowed to go inside that area, and then nothing is allowed to come outside of that area. We do thermal screenings in that area. We do we promote social distancing, maintain hygiene, and all these public health measures, and we hope that the transmission goes down in that area, and we slowly open up that area.
And as we open up, and as we have opened up, Dr. Chaturvedi, what will of course be watched very closely is that even while these economic activities are being allowed in certain areas, the ones that are green zone, so to speak, social distancing norms are strictly adhered to, because if they're not and cases crop up again, people might be back at square one, and that will happen with economic activity as well.
Exactly, and Gautam, if you see, out of 736 districts, 170 districts in around 20 states and 5 union territories are red zones, and that is one of the biggest challenge, as Prime Minister indicated in his interaction.
And these are the more industrialized, more
and they are the ones which were actually part of India's external sector, and these were the units, these were the industries that are housed in these 20 states. So you see the mega connect has completely gone haywire. So Prime Minister's suggestion to bring these red into orange and orange into green and green into industrial production zone, I think that's the strategy for next 3 to 4 months.
And at the same time look for opportunities even from other countries, such as it was mentioned China, industries might be shifting.
Yes, that's a big opportunity, and it's not only that. If you see in last 5 weeks, more and more of our units are now providing support to the pharmaceutical demand from several of the affected countries, and almost 48 countries have already approached India for exports of pharmaceutical products. So that, I think, is a huge opportunity. The second one comes in from the compensation package that US is providing to their own industry, where industrial units are queuing up. The third dimension comes in from the disrupted value chains with China and other countries, where our dependence was as high as 38% for our exports, and that, I think, if we are able to and succeed in localization of those value chains, then definitely many more jobs would be created.
Well, let's hope that we can head down that road pretty soon. Thanks for joining us this evening, Dr. Chaturvedi. I'll request Dr. Agarwal to be with us a little bit longer, because we'll be talking about something that is right up his alley as well in just a bit from now. Let's move on for the time being. Well, there's better news emerging from the regular Health and Home Ministry briefing on COVID-19. What's happening is that India's recovery rate has climbed further up to 23.3%, with 684 patients recovering in the last 24 hours, which also saw 1,543 new cases being reported all across the country. It was also informed that the government has issued new self-isolation guidelines, where only mild pre-symptomatic people are considered fit for self-quarantine. Anyone under home quarantine has to be monitored closely. The Health Ministry has further said that plasma therapy is in early stages in India, where it is simply being experimented upon. So far, there is no evidence that it is to be used for treatment. It has also not been approved by ICMR for treatment as yet. The Home Ministry also informed that IMCT Surat is tracking COVID patients through G-mapping. Door-to-door surveys are also being conducted along with extensive testing. Food packets are being distributed in Surat for migrant labourers. Gram Yodha Samitis are distributing essential commodities in these districts as well.
अहमदाबाद में जो ग्रामीण एरिया है, वहाँ हर ग्राम पंचायत में एक ग्राम योद्धा समिति का गठन किया गया है। ग्राम योद्धा समिति में सरपंच है, विलेज हेडमैन है, हेल्थ वर्कर है, हेडमास्टर है, तलाटी इत्यादि हैं। ये समिति जो है लॉकडाउन का पालन करते हुए गांव में राशन, सब्जी, दवाइयाँ इत्यादि को डोर स्टेप पे डिलीवर करती है। इसके अलावा वो आवाजाही पे और लॉकडाउन के नियमों के पालन पर भी नज़र रखती है। IMCT का सुझाव है कि इस इनिशिएटिव को बाकी राज्यों द्वारा भी अपनाया जा सकता है।
Now, of late, there's been a lot of talk about plasma therapy in the context of those suffering from coronavirus infection. The Health Ministry has made it clear today that for now, plasma therapy is at a trial stage in the country at the national level. Evidence to support its use as treatment for COVID-19 still doesn't exist, and its unauthorized use could be counterproductive apart from being illegal. But plasma therapy has been successful in the past with other viral outbreaks, and there is some reason to hope that it may prove useful in tackling severe coronavirus infections as well. Here's why.
Indian Council of Medical Research or ICMR recently allowed states to start clinical trials of plasma therapy. A detailed protocol has been issued by the research body defining the guidelines to conduct the trial. Institutions and hospitals in Delhi, Gujarat, Kerala, Maharashtra and Punjab have also started trials using plasma therapy. The idea behind this therapy is that immunity can be transferred from a healthy person to a sick patient using convalescent plasma.
कन्वलेसेंट प्लाज्मा एक टाइप की थेरेपी है, कई और इन्फेक्शन में कई वर्षों से ट्राई की गई है। ये थेरेपी में ऐसा होता है कि जो पेशेंट्स ठीक हो गए हैं, ये एंटीबॉडीज़ जो हैं ये शरीर में रहती हैं, खून में रहती हैं, वो इंसान अपना ब्लड डोनेट करे और उसका हम प्लाज्मा उस ब्लड से निकालें तो उस प्लाज्मा में ये एंटीबॉडीज़ पाई जाती हैं।
However, one must remember that convalescent plasma therapy for COVID-19 is still in the experimental stage across the world.
This is not a proven therapy. It is still in experimental stage. And till that right now even ICMR is doing it as a experiment, pan-Indian experiment to identify and do additional understanding of this particular therapy. And till the time it is approved, no one should use it and it will be harmful to the patient as well as also it will be illegal.
People who have fully recovered from coronavirus can save lives of people by donating their plasma. The donor plays an important role. Plasma is extracted from their blood as our doctors often do in case of dengue patients. Ahmedabad Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel Hospital is one of the first in the country to start trials in plasma therapy on COVID-19 patients. Delhi government has also decided to conduct plasma therapy trials on 3 more patients at Loknayak Jayaprakash Narayan Hospital.
अगर किसी पेशेंट को जो कोविड से लड़ रहा है उसको हम यही प्लाज्मा ट्रांसफ्यूज़ करें तो वो एंटीबॉडीज़ उसके शरीर में चली जाएंगी और उसके खून में आ जाएंगी और वो एकदम उसके बॉडी को बूस्ट देंगी इस इन्फेक्शन से लड़ने के लिए.
So far, plasma therapy trials in India have shown positive results. If they are found to be widely successful, the battle against coronavirus will get a booster shot. With Nitendra Singh, Bureau Report, DD India.
Brings up our In Focus tonight, COVID-19, understanding plasma therapy. And Dr. Anup Agarwal is with us. Remember, he's Principal Investigator of the Indian Council for Medical Research, that's the ICMR. And Dr. S.K. Sareen, Director, ILBS, is also with us on the phone line. Dr. Sareen, if I could come to you first, what are your thoughts in the first place on plasma therapy for COVID-19? It's a trial stage right now in India, but in terms of its effectiveness, how hopeful are you that it might at some point get a designation as a treatment for COVID-19?
Gautam, as you asked rightly, and I think also the Ministry of Health clearly informed today that it is in a trial stage, and trial means half the people get the plasma from donors who have got infection in the past with COVID and have good antibodies against COVID virus. And another half gets a routine standard plasma which has no COVID fighting capacity. Now when you give these to people without knowledge and you find that, let's say you have given it to 10 people, those who have got COVID plasma, where the antibodies to fight the virus are there, they get better, they survive. Compared to the others, it shows some very interesting, promising results. And the patients who are picked up for this are those patients who are having respiration more than 30 per minute. Those who have breathing difficulty may go on to ventilator or have severe pneumonia. Now, if you can save such patients and the results show that initial, I think then only one can say it is good. So as of now, trials have started one small trial at ILBS where there is the blood collection, plasma for COVID people, and Maulana Azad and Lok Nayak where there are the patients. Now, we will be knowing within next, let's say, 2 to 3 weeks whether these patients are getting better. While ICMR in the country has a very large trial, and if the trial results come in next 3 months, then of course we have some hope. But if someone asks me like you and me, sir, will I get a plasma from COVID and will I get better? It will be just like tossing a coin. It can be yes, it can be no. So as of now, nobody should do therapy or recommend therapy without under close supervision, without trial. But yes, it has a lot of science. And the science behind is very strong, that somebody, there is no way, we don't have any vaccine.
Okay.
Vaccine only prevents, infection, but here are people who are infected. So how do you treat a person? Let's say somebody has pneumonia. You give antibiotic. An antibiotic will kill the bacteria. For virus, you need an antiviral, but there is no virus killing drug for corona. So there is no antiviral. So if you have no antiviral, what do you have? You have antibodies made in a person who was infected. So he is a factory. From that, in a healthy donor, if you take such a plasma which has antibodies which can neutralize the virus in another infected sick guy, I think this can be a huge advantage. But we have to wait till the results come. And let's say we have a trial, then it is peer reviewed by somebody. The drug controllers and others have a close watch. Once it gets better, I think we may have a lead. But as of now, only under trial. Don't experiment without a doctor's supervision.
And Dr. Sareen, this is at a trial stage in our country because people are very curious about this therapy because there have been cases reported from abroad as well where it has proved to be effective in treating people with severe COVID-19 symptoms, and people feel that this is something that should be freely available, which is not the case, and that is the right stand perhaps for the government to take.
I will explain you. There are 2 published reports, one of 5 patients in the US and second of 10 patients in the US, where without a randomized trial, without people being, everybody got the plasma. So that is not the way science is done. And today there are many people who want to do, and there are 2 types of trials. One is a phase 2, which is for safety, if the product is safe, and then is phase 3, where you find out whether the drugs are actually in a large population group. So India is still in stage 2 and early stage 2 phases. Stage 3 will be maybe ICMR's trial. So those studies which people are quoting कि भाई एक मरीज, 1 मरीज, patient ठीक हो गया, वहाँ पे 5 ठीक हो गए, that is not the way. We will have to wait. People are very hopeful. They are looking for a ray of hope. But as a scientist, as a clinician, as a researcher, my advice is wait for some time. Don't give it even on asking the patient. Yes.
Right. Dr. Sareen, I'll request you to stay on the line with us. I have Dr. Agarwal of the ICMR with us. Dr. Agarwal, just explain to us how does this trial process work and why is it so necessary for this sort of a theoretically, because it seems that since plasma therapy has worked in other diseases as well, there is a history there of it being used for MERS, for SARS, for even dengue in India, I believe, that it could be successful here as well. So why the need for a trial? Why the need to be so cautious?
Okay, let me explain this again. So first thing, plasma therapy has never been proven successful in any disease before conclusively. It was used in SARS, yes, but was it successful? We don't know. It was used in MERS. Was it successful? We don't know. Whenever an epidemic happens or a pandemic happens, everyone jumps on to a silver bullet and they think that this will work, and there is no good science that is done, and we are back to square one with the next epidemic. In Ebola, this was used, and there was a good trial done by MSF in Guinea, and it showed that it did not work.
Okay.
So we don't exactly know whether it works or not. So that's the first thing. And COVID is a new disease. So even if it worked in previous diseases, which it did not, but even if it worked, we need to study it again. We need to have good science. This is